technical difficulties.
You're the worst at this.
Go away. There we go. All right, it's time for the Burning River Sportscast. Steelers 27, Browns 14. We'll break it all down right now. Welcome into a very special post-game live edition of the Burning River Sportscast presented by the fine folks at Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder. Joining me tonight, if he was a firearm, he'd only shoot blanks. He's red hot, Ronnie Jams. And he's got a femur, and the only prescription is more cowbell. He's the big bone man. Gentlemen, good evening. Happy to have you both.
I'm not happy to see you.
I'm happy to be back. I missed last week.
You're sleeping. It was a Monday night. You had to, you're always out saving the world, so you had to get that sleep in.
We were live after dark.
Big fan of that.
Yeah.
Back to Red Hot. Where can our listeners find the dopest dope they ever heard on a podcast, the #1 rated football podcast, and all the good pods, as well as the unofficial podcast of Cleveland Browns backers everywhere.
And the official podcast of some Cleveland Browns backers somewhere. You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. Good Pods were a #1 rated football podcast, by the way.
#1.
And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, the only place that you can find our video podcast, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handles for all those socials is at Burning River Sportscast, and we're on X with the handle at Burning River Pod. While you're at it, check out our merch, www.thetappanmedia.com/shop. All kinds of stuff in there. River gear, Chubb gear, Brook Park Browns gear. Get yourself a nice mug to drink your hot cocoa from. Just do it. But before we get started, quick shout out to some of our. What are you saying over there?
So buy it.
Buy it. Before we get started, though, quick shout out to our sponsors, Topat Distillery. Topat Distillery, an award-winning craft distillery located in Akron, Ohio. Topat Distillery focuses on high quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Now available locally and in 46 states. Topat Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small batch, local, and family-owned. In True Fan Travel, they make away games, home games with all-inclusive travel packages. So this year, they had travel packages for Browns fans for the Vegas game, the Washington game, and the New Orleans game, which we were a part of. And they don't just do football games either. They're also involved with other sports. In other events. Coming up next year, they have the Kentucky Derby and Oktoberfest. So be sure to check them out. Highly recommend one of their travel packages. Boys, you got anything to say about New Orleans? You guys, just real quick.
I would just say that it's not just a football game either. It's an experience. Several events over the course of a couple of different days. Plenty of time to yourself to check out a new city on your own. Have some fun. Have some brews. We had an awesome time, so absolutely would recommend 10 out of 10 True Fan Travel. For sure. And so on today's show, this is what you can look forward to. Recap of today's Week 14 loss against the Steelers. How we're feeling about the Browns right now. What types of offseason decisions may be looming. What we can expect the rest of the season. I'm sure there's going to be more. But let's get things started. Let's jump right into it by reminding everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Make sure you call the Hot Take Hotline. We want hot takes. We've been getting a few these last few weeks. Kenny Mack's been helping out there. He's got some stuff to say. So we got a new one today, boys.
Did we?
This one this week's show.
Nice. So we'll be playing that tomorrow when we record, and we can talk about that. Put you on air. Discuss what you have to say. But we want those hot takes. 330-227-8080.
8080.
Call now. Operators are not standing by, but again, we'll put you on air. So let's just jump right into things, guys. Week 14 recap. We'll start with we'll kind of do things in tandem here. We're going to do Steelers offense and Browns defense all at the same time because obviously they're on the field at the same time. And I want to keep this brief because it's getting late in the season. The Browns suck, and we all know what we are who we thought we were. But we still want to at least talk about it. So.
Do we though?
Yeah, some days. Today less than most days, but
I like Bones' idea of the 5-minute reaction.
Well, I mean, there's time to turn it into that. Yeah, we're past 5 minutes, so
worth.
But yeah, so I mean, here's the deal. This game was just kind of meh.
Boring.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't turn the game on, I'm just being honest. If you didn't turn today's game on, did you really miss anything?
For the 10th time this season, no.
It's so weird watching the team like today. Basically, after Dustin Hopkins missed his second kick, it was like there was no fight in the team whatsoever. Like they ended up making it somewhat competitive towards the end. We kept saying like if they would have just made their kicks, like they'd still be in it, but they didn't, so they weren't, and it was just kind of meh.
Well, that's what my my wife came into the living room kind of late, and it was 27-7 or whatever, and I was like, it's not, it doesn't, the game was closer than it looks. like
you try to rationalize why you're still watching this game.
Yeah, she was like, "What is that?" I was like, I mean, if they just made their 2 field goals, like this was like a 13-13 game at halftime, and it would be competitive right now. And even down to the final, like that final couple of drives, you're like, man, if it was 20-27 right now, things would feel a lot different. But being 27-13, you just feel like you're forever away. And felt like they kind of were taking their time there on the last drive they did score on there on the touchdown to Njoku. I'm just like, man, just wasting a lot of time here. I'm down to like 8 minutes left, and you got to score 3 times.
I feel like we're wasting a lot of time here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was, and the weird thing is, like, you look at the game, right? And so I said we'll start with the Steelers offense, the Browns defense. You just look at the box score. Russell Wilson threw for 158 yards. Najee Harris rushed for 53. Jalen Warren added 47. So you're looking at right around 100 between all the ball carriers, 120 yards rushing, which isn't bad. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad. But 158 yards passing, and like to me, I'm like, yeah, we were probably in this game, but we weren't. So it was just a strange game to watch, and that's where I come back to, like, did you really miss anything? I don't know, but
well, and again, for the 10th time this year, the same 3 things were true. You got outrushed. I think we had like 102 yards rushing as a team. So
104 to 120 was the final there.
You lost the turnover battle, and you gave up 27 points. So
we had 3 turnovers. They had 1, and then he gave up 27 points. So it's pretty simple. Ugly. I mean, I think literally every game since you first said that, and I know that's not anything groundbreaking. Everybody that ever watched football a couple times in their life knows you run the ball, you play good defense, and you don't turn it over. You win the game.
That's it.
So, I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it is funny that I don't think there's been a single week that hasn't held true. So,
add in the missed kicks. I feel like every single week we have missed kicks. So,
we'll get to Dustin Hopkins. I mean, we're going to spend a whole like 10 minutes on him because Jesus.
He's not worth it.
Myles Garrett. I will say Myles Garrett did add some stats in this one, albeit in Kenny, as you astutely pointed out during the game in garbage time. He did add a sack and a fumble recovery. But the sack was one more than TJ Watt had, so there's that.
True.
You got him there.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, watching the game, TJ Watt was pretty disruptive today.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't think he showed up big on the stat sheet, but he was. They knew he was there.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, I mean, not much going on offense for either team, really, because even let's flip it over to the Brown side on offense. Jameis, who it seems like throws for 300 yards every single week, was 24 of 41 for 212, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Probably his most, one of his lowest output games of his season so far.
Yeah,
how do you guys think Jameis looked?
He still threw for 2 touchdowns. And he was over 200 yards. I mean, he
which is more than we could have expected out of Deshaun Watson when he was playing, right?
I mean, the thing is too, like when you look at that box score, I think what that box score tells you, especially when you consider like the Steelers numbers and the fact that Russell passed for like 156 yards on his end. I mean, this was very much a like classic AFC North battle. Obviously, the snow changed things considerably in terms of strengths and weaknesses last time around. This was a game again of just like who could run the football just enough, who could play just good enough defense, and who could outlast the other. And on paper, this Pittsburgh team is just better than the Browns right now. So it just kind of played out that way. But I mean, nothing statistically was going to blow anybody's balls off here. This was just a classic hard-nosed football game, and it was who could do just enough, and the Steelers did. I do think it's funny. Out of all the things that came out of today's game, is I heard all kinds of noise from Steelers fans, like, "Oh, where's all my Browns fans at?" It's like, okay, first off, we beat you once this year, so suck it. And second off, like we were 3-9 coming into today, like under no delusions that we were a better football team. Yeah, I'll take a season split with you guys because you're going to the playoffs and we're going to the dump.
Right. Well, that goes back to like after the first win against the Steelers this year, like, you got your classic, like everybody threw up all the Steelers fans threw up this is their Super Bowl. Like to that point, that was our third win of the season. Yeah, absolutely. That was the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, I don't know why people act like that's a weird thing or like a bad thing. When you're a bad football team, every win is your Super Bowl. And the Browns, I still love the Browns, but the Browns are a bad football team this year. They're bad. So
they're really bad. They're 3-10. That's bad. Yeah. You're in the double digits in the loss column.
Double-digit losses. We played 13 games. We lost 10 of them. That's really bad.
I think when you look at the draft board for next year, I think there's 2 teams that are ahead of us right now. So that's not good.
Yeah. I don't know. It always blows my mind. Like just how the Steelers fans will like flip things around and make us. I don't know. I have to deal with them all the time because my whole work is full. They're based out of Pennsylvania, and that's all I hear all the time. So
I'm just like, you beat like the 3rd worst team in the league. Good job.
Way to go, buddy.
What's more embarrassing is that 2 weeks ago you lost to that team.
Yeah, what are you guys, like Yankees fans? You like to see guys beat up girls too?
Yeah,
that's weird. But yeah, I will shout out Jerry Jeudy in this one. Obviously another big game out of him, 5 for 64 and a touchdown. David Njoku continues to play well, 7 for 42 and a touchdown. Elijah Moore came back down to earth with only 3 catches for 34 yards. And then Nick Chubb, 11 for 48. And there was a few times in this one, I mean, he was bottled up for the most part. But there were a few times in this one where I was like, ooh, that was vintage Nick Chubb.
Today was the best I've seen Nick Chubb since he's been back, for sure. I think he averaged over 4 yards a carry in this one. He didn't get a ton of work, which I think is, again, just by design at this point. But, yeah, I mean, he averaged over 4 yards a carry today. He looked like he was running hard. He was running through some arm tackles and things today. So, yeah, not a huge sample size, but I was encouraged by what I saw to Nick Chubb today.
There was one in the 3rd quarter specifically that I saw where he kind of ran into a big pile of people on the right side of the line, and then he bounced it further out to the outside and then like proceeded to stiff arm somebody and get like 9 or 10 yards. And I was like, yeah, those are the runs. Those are the ones we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nothing, just honestly, like, I don't, I hate to be a downer, but there really wasn't anything phenomenal or particularly great or,
it was a boring football game. I mean, I think to Bones' point, like this whole game changed on the fact that Dustin Hopkins missed those kicks, because if he makes both those kicks, like this thing is a game all the way down to the end. But by the time he missed that second kick, I think it was so demoralizing to the entire team that it was like, I mean, we have to score touchdowns or else.
Yeah, those missed kicks came after two really good drives. I don't really have the stats in front of me, but it felt like they were both long, kind of long, hard fought drives, and then nothing.
Yeah. Nothing hurts.
Yeah, and I'd say this. Let's talk about Dustin Hopkins now, because I think it's the big, the elephant in the room from this game. It has been for a while, but it kind of was on full display today. He missed 2 more kicks today, and they weren't particularly tough kicks. He's just not good this year. Guys, he ranks 40th in the NFL in accuracy. Like, I don't know if people keep track, but there are literally only 32 teams in the NFL, and he ranks 40th in accuracy. So
that's not great.
So at this point, like, I know, Kenny, we talked last week and we said, who else are you going to go get? At this point, I don't give a shit. It could be anybody.
Right. Well, and at the time I was still thinking, like, this guy's a professional. Like, he's gonna get it. Not that he's gonna be the best kicker from here on out, but like, I think he'll make some kicks. We're at a point where he's not making any kicks. So, like, as much as I was like, just ride out the season with him. Like,
Nope.
it's just frustrating to watch that. Like, go find a rookie, go find somebody that's trying to make a squad, somebody that's on a practice squad. Go get Cade York, go get anybody. Let Corey Bajorquez kick field goals. Like, it can't be any worse than what we're getting out of Dustin Hopkins right now.
No, yeah, and so what do you guys think? Like, to me, I'd say cut him tomorrow, but that's me. What do you guys think on this?
I was hoping that they would have cut him by the time we had our show tonight.
Yeah.
Bone, he's your boy.
I wouldn't mind getting a young guy in here, testing him out the rest of the season. Just another look at somebody going into next year, give somebody an opportunity to kick in some high pressure, not really high pressure games, but I mean, it's NFL, so it's all pressure.
Is it our fault? We made those Dustin is greater than Justin shirts, and from there
Justin hasn't been great this year either.
Justin's been bad this year too. Yeah.
Is it a battle of attrition at this point? Like, who sucks least?
I think Father Time has just caught up with both those. I mean, the thing is kicking is a lot like golf, right? It's a very mental.
Great, our kicker's got the yips.
Emotional thing, and he does right now. I mean, he's in his head about it, right? I mean, he pulled the first one and pushed the second one, thinking, "Hey, I'm not going to pull this one," and that's where he's at right now. And sometimes you just can't figure it out mid-season because you're hurting the team every time you're on the field. So. Look, I don't know if Cade York's on a roster somewhere. I'd go give Cade York another shot at this thing. Look, we see kickers every year that come back, and I mean, obviously, even look at all the Browns kickers that are in the NFL. Chase McLaughlin, Austin Seibert, Zane Gonzalez. Like, these guys keep showing up on rosters. Like, and it's not just Browns kickers. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that have bad years, get cut, end up somewhere else, and they have a good stretch for a couple of years. So, I mean, that's how we got Dustin Hopkins in the first place, right? I mean, it's just one of those games where it's a personnel, enigma. You got to kind of just try and figure it out. But right now, the thing is, you're getting absolutely nothing out of Dustin Hopkins. So it's just, you can't keep going on like that unless they've made the decision that, like, at this point, they're like, we wouldn't mind having that top 3 pick in the draft. So having a kicker that misses every field goal is not such a bad idea.
It's
like strategery. Scapegoat.
Strategery.
I feel like
in fact, maybe they're paying Dustin to shave points at this point.
Yeah.
Go out there and just miss every kick.
Just miss everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the biggest issue with today's game and why it was so glaring, like, obviously he missed the 2 kicks and that's bad enough. But it was even more noticeable because we're playing against Boswell, who has taken over as, like, he is by far the most reliable kicker in the AFC North. And that dude doesn't miss anymore. Well, I shouldn't say anymore. That dude just doesn't miss, period. Like, it seems like every time there's a pressure kick, he's making it.
Yeah. I mean, they've been fortunate they've had, but the thing is, like, Boswell's had years where he wasn't the best kicker in the league and they've stuck by him. That's a different story though with Dustin Hopkins. I mean, Boswell's been in Pittsburgh for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, it's glaring when that guy makes everything and your guy can't make a field goal. So, I mean, the other problem is that, like I said, this was a classic AFC North matchup. When you have drives where you're consistently moving the football, you get the running game moving just a little bit, you're able to convert on a third down here and there, and you just can't punch it in. You can't afford to not have those points because that at the end of the day, like, it's going to come down to this is going to be probably a 1 possession game. So you have to make good on those opportunities.
Yeah, every point matters for sure. Well, guys, the only other thing that I have here for this game is coaching. I want to just get into that a little bit. Kind of high, 30,000 foot view, not really getting into the weeds of things, but more so just the fact that this to me is another game that shows that I know Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year, or whatever you want to say about him, but Mike Tomlin is a far better coach than Kevin Stefanski. He has been the entire time Stefanski's been here. He continues to be. And I know that you mentioned last week, Kenny, that on the same day that the Browns ensured they would be going under 500,
for the 15th time.
Yeah, for the 15th time, Mike Tomlin.
During Mike Tomlin's tenure.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin ensured that he still has not gone under 500 ever in 18 years. So
ever. And this is I think the 10th or 11th time they've had 10 plus wins in his tenure.
Yeah. So I know again, I deal with Steelers fans all the time because of work. But they are not high on Mike Tomlin, and it just every time I hear it, I'm like, you guys are nuts.
I would love to have Mike Tomlin as our head coach.
It's probably because he's never won Coach of the Year.
We'll trade you a 2-timer.
Yeah.
You can have him. Straight up.
Yeah, I've got 2 coaching points of emphasis that I'd like to make.
The special teams is bad?
The first one is after the game, they asked Kevin, because obviously Jameis it was very mediocre today. Yeah. They asked if Jameis was going to be the starting quarterback next year. Mind you, this is the guy that for 7 straight weeks said Deshaun Watson gives us the best chance to win football games, so he's going to continue to be our starter. Said, I don't know. We're going to. Well, I'm not ready to commit to a quarterback at this point. Are you kidding me? Right now, is there another starting quarterback on this roster that I'm not aware of? Is there somebody that actually does give this team a better chance to win right now than Jameis Winston? Look, I get that Jameis is a roller coaster, but he's also thrown 13 touchdowns so far as a starting quarterback here. Like, is there somebody else that's better on this team right now? Are you telling me a DTR gives this team a better chance, or are you going to put Bailey Zappi in? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? All of a sudden now we're going to be coy about who the quarterback is? I don't know. Not really naming a starting quarterback for next week. Are you kidding me, Kevin?
Was it for next week or next season?
For next week.
Yeah, you originally said next season. I was like, that kind of makes sense. I wouldn't.
No, not for next season. For next week.
Okay.
Next week makes it way worse.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, that's terrible.
Just one more reason he should be shit canned tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible answer.
If they legitimately roll somebody else out besides Jameis the rest of the season,
they're tanking.
Like, I don't I'm not one to call for violence, but maybe somebody needs to be stoned in the streets. I don't know.
At least
that's wild.
Like, jelly beans or something.
Yeah. They're tanking. I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if they're going to win one more game in the season just to make the Browns fans feel better, is obviously today, you sweep the Steelers and then you lose the rest of your games. I think people would still be pretty happy. So now I think it's tank time and get a draft pick. That's my prediction is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think you're far off, but to me, like, I still look at it like, well, we got the Bengals twice, right? Like, before now and the end of the season. Like,
no, we played them once.
All right, we only play them once, but you still have the Bengals and the Ravens still in your schedule again. So, like, I would very much like to win both those division games before the end of the season.
We won't.
Probably not. We'll probably go out and beat the Chiefs next week. Is probably what we'll do.
Yeah, exactly.
Randomly. Number 2 point of coaching emphasis. And I don't know whose fault this is. I don't know if this is a Bubba Ventrone thing, if this is an Andrew Berry thing, saying, "Hey, we've got a interesting personnel guy we want to get on the field," or if this is a Kevin Stefanski decision. But let me remind everyone that Kadarius Toney was a high-end draft pick that was kicked out of New York for what reason?
He can't catch the ball.
He can't catch the ball. He went to Kansas City after that and was kicked out of Kansas City promptly because of what?
He can't catch the ball.
He can't catch the ball. So why in the hell is this dude returning punts? Arguably the hardest thing to catch.
He didn't catch one.
He didn't catch it.
Yeah.
I mean, the punts is the one thing where if you don't catch it, the other team can get the ball.
It's actually like I would be interested to see what the actual stats are on muffed punts. Like, I'm pretty sure it's probably like 80% of the time if you muff a punt, the other team gets it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, compared to being an incomplete pass, it's 100% of the time on an incomplete pass. Like, you just drop it, nothing happens. But if you don't catch the punt, the other team can get the ball. Like, whose idea was it to put this guy out there, make the hardest catch of the game? Like, what happened to just putting James Prochet back there because he could at least catch the football?
Always.
He just caught it. Was he a great returner? No, but he caught the damn ball. We get all excited. We get Kadarius Toney. He's the fastest guy in the league. Let's put him back there. Well, it doesn't do any good how fast he is if he can't catch the damn ball.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Like, whose idea was this? Whose idea was if it was Kevin's? It's another reason for him to be shit canned tomorrow. If it's Andrew Barry's thinking this guy on the field, hey, get out of my playbook. Like let Kevin decide who's going to be on the field. And Bubba Ventrone, like, all right, we got the worst kicker in the league and now the worst kick returner. So I don't know what you're doing here either.
Like, congratulations, Bubba Ventrone. Like, you went from last year, like, we were pretty solid to we legitimately have the worst special teams in the entire league.
Special teams, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a good punter. That's it.
Yeah, Bojo, he helps. But I don't know. He was good before Ventrone got here, so.
Yeah, agreed. Right. I just like that was driving me crazy. I'm like, you had like 2 or 3 moments during that game where you were like, all right, like maybe something interesting will happen. They get the ball back, Jameis promptly throws a pick, and then they get the fumble, and then they get the stop, and then you're like, all right, like still 3 minutes left. Let's see what'll happen here. Oh, no, we can't even field a punt, so I'll just give the ball right back. Enjoy, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, what else can I say? You pretty much said it all, you know?
Yeah, this team is trash up and down. It's just bad. Yeah.
So with the trash team, why don't we just go ahead and do our Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week nominees? I'm gonna start this week since I wasn't allowed to take him last week, and I'll just do Jerry Jeudy. So, Bone, who's your Dog of the Week nominee?
Man, that's tough. I'll go Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks came up real nice on a running back swing pass and made a nice hit in the open field. That's the only thing I can think of that like got me excited at all today. So
Bone's going strictly off of one play. I love it.
One play. Yeah, one play.
Kenny, who's your Dog of the Week nominee?
I'll go Jerome Ford because he had a nice kick return.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he
Nobody's taking Njoku with the other touchdown?
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Game was boring.
All right, so final thoughts, Kenny?
You want my final thoughts right now? You really want my final thoughts?
No, we'll save yours for last. Bone, final thoughts.
I'll give you a final thought.
Okay.
I'll give you a final thought.
Okay. Okay.
We've talked a lot. We've placed the finger at a lot of people this year. We pointed a lot of fingers, and there's a lot of blame to go around. But let me just remind all of you, especially because we're heading into draft season and we're heading into this discussion now about let's pick a quarterback and what that's going to look like and who's going to run this offense. Is Ken Dorsey the right guy to run it? Is Kevin Stefanski the right guy to run it? Should any of these guys be back? This didn't start with Dustin Hopkins missing kicks. This didn't start with Jameis Winston needing to be delivered from pick sixes. This didn't start with Deshaun Watson even being the worst quarterback on the planet.
Worst quarterback ever.
Yeah, worst quarterback period ever, period. This started when, as a city, collectively, I guess, we looked at a guy who is third right now in passing yards and third right now in touchdowns in the entire league and said, can't win games with that guy. Fucking idiots, all of you. I don't want to hear your opinions on who you think is going to be good, who's going to be the best. You already all shit the bed. Screw it. Y'all suck.
Just calling out the entire city.
You had a quarterback here who you could win games with, who consistently was winning games and changed the trajectory of this franchise. And somewhere along the way, we said this isn't good enough. For who?
Yeah.
For who?
Yeah.
Hey, in case the listeners didn't read between the lines, he's talking about Baker Mayfield. I just gotta say his name. And he is indeed a stud, and I miss him.
Listen, I think even the most staunch Deshaun defenders at this point have trouble at least not admitting that, okay, maybe we messed up. And I think that's the problem, though, is even though I think they're thinking that internally, we still have all these guys out there that are like, no, we did the right thing. We couldn't win with Baker, but, Baker's over there winning games with literally nobody left on his team because everybody's hurt. So,
yeah. And did it last year with a different offensive coordinator than this year. I mean, he's had injuries to his top targets down there, and he's still got, I think, 28 passing touchdowns on a season with, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 games left to play. Like, the guy's going to throw over 35 touchdowns this year, and that wasn't good enough for Browns fans.
Yeah, I'll say this. I've always been not too sympathetic to your arguments for Baker, but I would be happy. I never thought I'd say this, but I'd be very happy to have Baker on our team right now. So it is what it is. I don't know. Bone, final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I don't want Andrew Berry picking our rookie quarterback this year. Fire Andrew Berry.
Agree. I agree with that. Yeah, and I'm gonna go in that same vein. I'm done with Kevin Stefanski too. Fire Kevin Stefanski, and let's hire Mike Vrabel, because I do think that there is talent on this roster that you could still continue to build around. You don't have to tear it down to the studs, or you do just leave the studs. I guess I don't know where I'm going with that, but you get rid of Kevin Stefanski, you bring in Mike Vrabel, you get rid of Dorsey, you get rid of Barry, you get rid of DePodesta, and you say, we have some talent here. Vrabel, do what you do. So I think we'd be good there, but they're not going to listen to me. Analytics,
Yeah. Well,
feels bad. But with that, let me remind everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. All this stuff we're talking about, this is why we have the Hot Take Hotline. So I wish somebody would more people would take us up on this. At least we have a few in there now. We'll talk about them tomorrow. But yeah, 330-227-8080. Call now. Leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. Let us know just how you feel about the Browns. Kenny, what can we expect next week?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking how I felt about the Browns. Yeah, this week we'll have our normal show to be out Thursday. Thanks for hanging with us tonight live. But we will preview the Week 15 game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we'll have Browns backers interview with our friends out in KC. Maybe talk some barbecue there. And I think we got John Hughes back with us again this week after the misfire on the scheduling for the previous week. So we should have our dear friend of the show and defensive correspondent John Hughes with us again this week.
Absolutely. And check us out on social media. Tabit Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Tabit Media and Burning River Sportscast. That's this podcast is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on X at Burning River Pod. And you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro. Good pods where we are number one ranked football
number one
podcast, and so many more. Guys, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah,
I'm just ready for Browns vacation, man. This is like as bad as I felt about the Browns in a long time. Like this feels like I can't even compare this to. Like this is worse than we've talked all year about how it's worse than the 0-16 team, the 1-31 team, whatever. This is like, I don't know, back to like 2011 Browns. Like there's just no hope.
Just such a letdown of a season.
It's not fun to watch. And they just, from where the expectations were to where we are today, man, it's just awful.
We're gonna power through. We're going to do it.
To remake this team in the offseason and come back next year better.
Yeah. We'll power
We have four games, 4 more of these guys.
Yep. Let's be honest here. We're just like the rest of the fans. Like we're like, is the season over yet? Is the season over?
Yeah.
4 more pity parties.
Exactly. And then we'll talk a little bit about playoff football and real teams, and then we'll pack it up and we'll get back here next year to talk about hopefully a better Browns team.
Yeah.
But until then, Bone.
Yeah, bon appetit. Good night, fellas.
Don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires. Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River
Sportscast.
Burning River.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Akron.